In this video, I'll walk through a complete example of reading a file line by line, splitting it into pieces, and working with the data that comes from it. In VS Code, I'm first going to open up a folder to work in, where I have an example stored. Open folder, it's on my desktop, in this web folder here. Now, in this folder, I have a small CSV file here called webtraffic.csv. I don't need to worry about that extension. And this file contains a record of traffic to a fictitious website. It has 3 columns, separated by commas. The first contains the name of the web page. The second is the number of seconds that the user spent on that page. And the third is the referring page that they came from. The details of this are not important, but this is an example of something that you might want to investigate. So I'm going to start a new Python file to analyze this data, and for now we'll just display the pages and the time spent on them. So I'll create a new file here called webanalyzer.py. And let me just take a minute to plan out my approach here. And I'm going to make sure that I do this as a split screen so that you'll be able to see the file that I'm working on as well as the code. And then I'm going to take a minute to write some comments and put the steps that I think I'll need to go through. The first thing that I'll do is I'll open the file. Next, I'll read through the file line by line. Once I do get the line, I'll kind of need to split the line into parts. And then I'll store each part into a separate variable. One for the page and the time spent and so forth. And then finally, I can print the result. Taking the time to plan out my program like this is a good way to get started. We might need to add some other things as we get in there, but let's just start with this. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up the file. I can do that using the with keyword, open, and then the name of the file here, in quotes, which is webtraffic.csv. And then I put a colon, and then everything else needs to be indented. I'll just indent my comments so they're there too. By using the with statement, I'll make sure that the file gets closed. Okay, next, I'll read through this line by line using a for loop. For line in, oh, and I haven't given it a name yet. I'll say as, let's call this the web file. So now I go through for line in the web file. Great. And before I do the other things, I'm just going to print this out and make sure that all of this is working the way I would expect. I'll go ahead and put a breakpoint out here. And then I'll start walking through this with debugging, one line at a time. The first thing it does is it opens the file and, oh no, I've got an error here. It says file not found, web traffic. I notice here that I've made a mistake. I've misspelled that. I left out one of the F's in traffic. I can fix this and then try again to make sure that that actually solves the problem. I go through, okay, good. Now it reads it. I can get the line and I can print them out down here on the screen, just like that. It's a good idea to run your program once in a while as you're getting started to make sure that each piece is working. So now that I know that I can open the file and read through it line by line, I can work on the next steps. First, I need to split the line into parts. And I do that using the line.split function. And remember that in this case, my file is separated with a comma, so I'll want to put that in there. And then I can store the result in a variable, like parts, for example. Now that we have the parts, we can store each one into a variable. So I'll get the page name, which is the first thing in there, or the one at index 0, and save it into a variable called page. Page is parts, square bracket 0. Then I can get the time spent on that page. It's at parts square bracket 1, and I'll save that into a variable called time. The third one was the referring page, and that's at parts square bracket 2. So now that I have this, I can go ahead and print out each part. So I'll do print, and I'll say in here, page, maybe I'll put this in single quotes, page referred by, and then here's where I can say the other one, the referring page. Close that, was visited for time seconds. All right. And now because I'm printing this out, I can go ahead and get rid of my earlier print statement that I used just to make sure that's working. Oh, and I've got a red underline here. Expected indented block. Okay, I need to go back and fix that problem too, and that is I need to indent this. Whenever you see those red underlines, you want to work with them right away. Great, so now let's try to run this and see if it's working the way I expect. I go through here, I open the file. I get the first line. Does this look the way I expect? Good. Home, 21, none, just like I want. Then I split it into parts. And I can look over here, if I want, in my watch variables, and see that parts array, or that parts list. And I can see 0, 1, and 2 and see the values in there. Everything's looking really good. Now I can put each of those into the variables. I'm going to mouse over each one and double check that the value is what I expect. Page, time is 21, and referring page. And oh, I'm already noticing something here. And that is I have an extra little space at the beginning of that, don't I? And we'll see that even more when I print it out here. Page, home, referred by, oh look, I've got this space here, and then it actually went to the new line was visited for 21 seconds. You probably already know what I need to do to fix this, and that is I need to strip off the white space at the beginning and at the end of each of those variables. And I can do that right here on the same line by putting my strip string method. And this works really great. It gets the value out of the parts list, strips it, and then stores it into the variable. So let's try this again and see if this looks a little better. I come in and I open the file and I start reading through line by line. The line still looks good. Let's look at each of these variables. Page, that one looks great. Time, much better. Referring page, oh good. It got rid of both the space and the new line. And now when we display this down here, it looks much better. Let's run the next one and make sure that it looks okay too. All right, this is looking really good. Now I can just let this resume and finish running, and you can see all of the output here. So this is looking really nice now. Let's say that in addition to just printing it out, we wanted to add up all of the time spent on our site. For this, I'm going to need a new variable to keep track of this time, this total time. And so I can create a variable for that I initialize before the loop. Total time, and I'm going to start that at 0. And then for each line, I'll add on to that. So now I can go down here, and after I've gotten that time variable, I can say total time plus equals time. Then after the loop is over, at the very end, I can say the total time was time. Total time. Great. So let's go ahead and run this and make sure that it's working. I open the file. I set the total time variable. Let's double check that. Good. 0. It looks great. Then I go through each line and I split it up into the parts. So now I have that 21 ready to add on there. And I run that and, oh, I get an error here. Type error. unsupported operand types for plus equals, int and string. And it tells me exactly where the problem happened. It was when I tried to do that plus equals. Let's run it again, and we'll kind of stop right there and look at all of our variables very closely before that line runs. So we come in here, and I'm going to step over each line and stop right here. I could have also just set a breakpoint there. Now, I'm going to look closely here. Total time is 0. That looks right. And time is 21. But I actually noticed now that I have the quotes around 21 and not around 0. That's because this is a string. Whenever you read from a file, just like when you use the input function, it returns a string. And so if I want to treat it like a number, I need to convert this into a number. I can fix this problem by converting this to an int or a float. It seems like all the data over here are integers, but it's possible that in the future, it could be more precise and have decimal values. So just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and put float around here. That way it'll work for either. I can do all of this on one line. It gets the value out of the parts list, strips it, then converts it to a float and stores it in my time variable. Let's run this one more time and watch this happen. So now as I go in, good, it worked okay. Let's mouse over that and make sure 21.0. It's no longer in quotes and it knows that it's a floating point number. So now the total time has been updated to 21.0. Good. Let's go through one more time. The time variable on the next line is 14.0. I've got 21.0 and 14.0. I add them together, 35. Very good. So now I'm going to go ahead and let this finish the program, and it tells me that the total time was 113. Wow, this example brings together a lot of different ideas. And hopefully that helps you see how you can use all the concepts you've been learning to accomplish something interesting. Also, I hope that this helps you see just how useful the debugger can be in tracking down some of these problems.